This conference will now be recorded.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmanibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamshrishibhyo Mahanbhyo Namo Gurubhyam Sarvopaplavahita Prajnanagana Pratyagato Brahmaivamasmi Brahmaivamasmi Vedanta Vibhasakaya Gurave Shantaya Navadi Nagendra Sanghapavaye Yogindra Vandyaya Cha Mohattanta Divakaraya Bhagavatpada Vinam Vibrate Tasmai Bhashrite Namostu Satatam Purnaya Bodhatmane Yasya nishvasitam veda yo vedebhyo khilam jagat nirmame tamaham vande vidyatirthamaheshwaram. When Arjuna had asked, what is the characteristic of the Sthita Prajna, the question itself has the division of two things. Sthita Prajna, who is absorbed and absorbed in samadhi, and Sthita Prajna, who is engaged in the transactions too. Now, this does not mean that there are two types of Sthita Prajna. So, this does not mean there are two types of Sthita Prajna. What does it mean? It simply means Kala Bhedena. It is only in reference to time. When the same Sthita Prajna is in the state of samadhi, what is his characteristic? What is it that he is seeing? How is he being defined? And the same one, when he is engaged in the world, what is his characteristic? So now Shri Bhagavan Shri Krishna explains that. And he said, Prajahati yada kaman, when a person gives up all objects, Sarvan Pathmano Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha, and he who is satisfied, one who is content with what? With himself. The one who is content with himself, Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha. Such a person is called as Sthita Prajna. Now, all objects, what do you mean by all objects? Given up all objects, and therefore, in order to explain what are all objects, he said that all means three. That all means three. Kamas trividha, bahya, antara vasana rupascha. The external objects like the modak, the sweet dumpling, steamed, modak. Then asha modaka. Then the second one is just those modakas which are there only in your fantasy. Apatata pratita vasana rupashcha. And then when experiencing those objects, how do you experience? Casually, internal or external, pati patita trinadivat. Like, they really don't hold you. Even if it is there, you just happen to see them and go, like the grass on the path or a stick on the path. You saw it and you went ahead. It does not keep you bound to it. Vasana rupascha. All these objects, parityajati, he gives up. And how do you know that he has given up? Iti chasya mukha prasad linga gamya santosha. There is a great satisfaction, contentment on his face. That becomes the linga, that becomes an indication. Mukha prasad, sacha na kameshu kintu atmani eva. And that great satisfaction which is there on his face is not due to some objects. This is what exactly happens. This is what happens. Parshuram, after being defeated by Ram, Ayodhyapati Ram, he was defeated in the sense the Dhanusha, the bow which he was holding, which was called as the bow of Vishnu, Shiva Dhanusha. There are two bows, one which belonged to Shiva and a bow of Vishnu. And both of these bows were there with Parshurama. One bow he kept in the palace of King Janaka, who happens to be Sita's father. And that bow was, because it was not an ordinary bow, it belonged to Shiva. So even if they would put hundreds of people, it would be difficult to lift the bow. They required some hundreds, more than 100 people to just lift the bow. It was Shiva Dhanusha. But it was said that Sita, one day, Janaka was surprised to see his little daughter Sita is comfortably not only just playing, she was comfortably lifting that bow and playing a horse with it. Boda boda. He said, this little girl lifts it, she is not ordinary. And therefore, if I have to, now when the time came to see a suitable groom for her, he decided the groom should be such that he should be able to lift the bow, not only lift the bow, but he should be able to string the bow. He should be able to string the bow. Then only he will be an anurupa, a proper groom for this girl. Why she's look at her power. The bow which only Shiva could lift, she is lifting as a child's play. Over here, even if we put 100 people to lift it, it is difficult. They are all sweating to put it on the cart, to push it on the wheels. Oh, so now when Rama, and this is a bow which Parshurama has gifted to Janaka for him to worship, because it is Shiva's bow. And Janaka should worship this every day. Then, during that wedding ceremony, hundreds of princes and kings and powerful men had come. Nobody could even move that bow an inch, even an inch. Then Janaka was disappointed and he said that is there nobody who can become, what do they say, a proper groom to this girl? Qualified to be a husband to this girl? And Sita is extremely beautiful. Though because of her beauty and her qualities, all these men who had gathered over there, each one of them was desiring her to be their bride. Well, you may desire, but are you qualified? And these people went over and they could not move that bow even an inch. And when Janaka is thus disappointed, then Rama steps forward. Not only he lifts the bow and he strings the bow, as he is stringing the bow, he has to pull the top portion of the bow down. So the string is there on the lower portion, and now he has to string it up on the upper hook. He bends the bow, and he bends it, the bow cracks. The bow breaks into two halves. It breaks into halves. As a result, now obviously Sita is married to Rama, but there is another calamity. This fellow, the sound of that bow cracking reverberates in the three worlds. It was a boom. And Parshuram is sitting somewhere doing tapasya. And that sound of that bow crack, he says, this cannot be any other sound but Shiva Dhanusha cracking. He comes down. Who is it who has broken the Dhanusha, the bow of Shiva? He comes. Why am I telling the story? There is what actually is there any which ways now enjoy it since it has begun. Then what happens is he comes down and he with his now he is holding Vishnu's bow. He says, who broke this bow? Who is this Uddanda? Whose arrogance and whose pride and whose what do they call that thing? Has gone so much that he has done this, has the audacity to insult Shiva's bow. So then Rama says, sir, I did not, it just got broken. It broke because I was trying to string it. I did not break it. Break it because I wanted to break it. It broke. Then there are some funny sentences by Lakshmana in between. And Lakshmana says, but Parshurama, why are you getting so angry? That was an old bow any which way. I will make a new one for you. So you don't have to get angry so much. That was anyway an old thing. So we'll make a new one, don't worry. It is already, it's like sprinkling salt on the wound, on the cut. Then this fellow, he says, you have to fight with me, Rama, now. And Rama says, okay. He says, first of all, if you can fight, you just hold my bow for a minute. As he said that, Rama put his hand like that, and instead of that bow being taken or Parshurama giving it in Rama's hand, the bow, like the pin to a magnet, it swiftly came into Rama's hand. It belongs to Vishnu. And Parshurama said, Apne, give me. He just come take it. And Parshurama's ego and that, I am an avatar, everything finishes. Now, thus, Parshurama goes to the forest. And now, he knows that there is no point of me staying in the world. Now, I am not required. Rama is come. So, this is the story. So, what I want to tell begins now, actually. But, so on the way, he meets, and he is very disappointed and dejected, depressed. And on the way, he meets one person in the forest who there in that, he's sitting under a tree in that dust. Maybe there are mosquitoes and all that in the forest, tropical forest. It's a tropical forest. So over there, Indian forest, so all maybe mosquitoes, flies, everything is there. And this fellow is sitting and he has got a smile on his face, like he is in Hawaii, Bahamas, somewhere nicely sipping coconut water or something. Nicely sitting. Parshurama sees him and says that face does not look ordinary. We don't see any objects of any gratification over here. No hammock, no bed, no food of variety of food. And this fellow is still satisfied, happy. A smile which is difficult even on the emperor's face is there on him. That Rishi is Samvartaka Rishi. He asks, Parshurama says, please tell me, how is that possible? And then he explains how Atma is Brahman, Purnam, etc. Parshurama does not understand that. Powerful, he does not. Huh? And then, this is a story from Tripura Rahasya. Then he does not understand. Then he says, never mind. Now you go to Dattatreya, he will explain you. There is another Rishi called Dattatreya. Dattatreya is an outlet. You go. Then Dattatreya tells him to do some Devi Puja for 10, 12 years. He does. After doing that, he says, what am I doing? Who is this Devi? Why am I doing this all every day? And then he goes to Dattatreya again and says, what is this all? He says, this is because when Samvartaka Rishi told you, you did not understand that in the first place. That's why all this now. So that there is Antakara Shuddhi and you can understand. What I wanted to tell is just that much, just that small portion. That this fellow is sitting in the jungle, in that forest, and there is tremendous joy on his face. Parshurama, who is celebrated and worshipped, and they revere him even out of fear. does not have it. And that's why tasya mukha prasada linga gamya santosha. That santosha, that satisfaction, how is it known? Through the mukha prasada. That face itself is declaring his inner state. Such a kameshu, such a na kameshu, kintu atmani eva kamanam tyaktatvat. So what are the objects over there, internal, external, all given up, and therefore there is no object. Even the objects created by thought and casually created by thought are also not there. Vasana rupaha api na vidyante for him. And uh, there, what is there? No anatma padartha is there. And because there is no anatma vastu, then what is there? Only atma vastu. So what is the cause of his satisfaction? Atma only. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. This is how he is. Then Vidyaranya Swami has got a very nice thing to tell, which is a very, very poignant, but a very fine observation. He says that satisfaction and joy is not because of any thought that Atma is Brahman. Even that is also actually not there. Then what is that joy? It is Swarupa Bhuta. It is his own nature. Swarupa. So, nachatra samprajnana samadhav iva atmanando manovrityu lipsyate kintu swaprakasha chidrupena atmana santoshascha na vrittirupaha kintu tat samskara rupaha evam vidhaihi lakshanavachakaihi shabdaihi samahito bhashyate. This is how the sthita prajna is bhashyate, is defined. So what have you found in his definition? Two things. The one who has given up objects, then he must be very unhappy because there is nothing to enjoy. Oh, he is extremely satisfied. But with what? By himself. With himself. Does not require anything. No object, no action, no movement, not even a thought is required. He is satisfied completely just by himself. Both the things. So, the one who has given up all the objects, sarvan kaman manogatan, prajahati yada kaman. Kaman means over here objects. Kamyate iti kamaha. That what can be desired is called as kama. Any object that can be desired is kama. What you desire, why you desire, that is totally dependent on that condition. If you were to be born somewhere where in a culture where eating non-veg was natural, that is what you will desire. What you desire is not at all important. Whatever you are desiring is anatma. That is kamya. The kamyate iti kama. Prajahati gives up all. All, what all means? Bahyantara vasana rupascha. Gives up them, gives them up, gives them all, gives them up all. English. What is it now next? Samahito bhashyate. Now listen. Furthermore, dukkeshvanudvignamanaha sukheshu vigatasprihaha vitaragabhayakrodhaha sthitadhir muniruchyate. We are on page number 57. Dukkeshvanudvignamanaha Sukeshu vigatasprihaha vitaragabhayakrodhaha sthitadhir muniruchyate. Dukkeshu anudvignamanaha. In situations of misery, he remains undisturbed. Anudvignamanaha. No, it does not mean that because you are a Brahmajnani, for you all situations will be only nice, everything will be nice. No. There are going to be situations which are dukkha situations, miserable, which are seen as miserable situations by all. Even today, when people watch Ramayana, and when the time comes for Rama to go into exile, you have to watch these people, how they cry. I have seen people who are just short of howling. That Rama should not be sent into the forest. We have heard Ramayana so many times, but every time when this comes, we feel that Rama should not go into forest. At least this time you stay back. Next time you go. And this is how people. So these are the situations which are seen commonly by all, which will evoke a response of dukkham, which will evoke a response of dukkham. So dukkheshu anudvignamanaha. So those situations which will be, which are viewed, which are seen as situations of misery by the world, in those situations too, what happens to him? Anudvignamanaha remains undisturbed. Sukheshu vigatasprihaha, and in situations of joy, celebration, he remains without any longing. Does not even have this feeling that this situation should continue a moment more. That it will make me more happy. Vigata spriha. There is no longing. There is no longing. Tomorrow will be better. No such thing. For an ordinary person like us, we live only with that hope that tomorrow is going to be better. For him, every moment is not, can be better or anything. This is best. And therefore, what will be there now? If you have best, you cannot desire for what was better. You already have that what is best. Vigata sprihaha, vitaraga bhayakrodha. And therefore, he is the one, Vitaraga. Vita means the one from whom Raga. Raga is attachment. Bhaya, insecurity, fear. Krodha. Krodha means anger, frustration. All these things have gone. The one from whom these things have left. Such a person is called as Vitaraga. Vita Bhaya, Vita Krodha. Now all of them are put together in one compound. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. It is exactly opposite of English with. The English with will means he is who? One with Raga, with Bhaya, with Krodha. In Sanskrit that it is not with, it is Vita. What happens with this Vita? Vita means Vigata, gone, left. The one from whom all these things have left, not along with, is Vita, not Vita, Vita. That's why it makes a lot of difference with the and all that. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha. Actually, it means that these are all complexes. All our fears, insecurities, etc., either we have brought it from earlier lives or developed in this life. What else is there? These complexes. They are resolved. They are resolved. So the person does not live or respond from his complexes, out of his insecurity, out of his anger, dissatisfaction. This is not what he responds with. Then what does he respond with? With his completeness, with satisfaction. That some of our people had gone there to this Krishna temple in Mumbai. Then this all these brahmacharis, they're also smart at talking, right? So what happened was those people from that temple, they sing Hare Krishna, sing and dance. So this fellow came to this brahmacharis because maybe potential people who could join the dance. So see, we are followers of Krishna. If you believe in Krishna, of course we follow Krishna, we believe in Krishna. If you are followers, then Krishna used to dance like that. We also dance. Dham dhama dham dham. Drums and cymbals and music and Krishna dances. That's why we are followers. So we are also dancing. So this fellow said there is a great difference. Though Shri Krishna also dances and you also dance, but there is a big difference between these two dances. He is dancing out of his joy. You are dancing for joy. You are dancing so that you can be happy. He is dancing because he is happy. There is a difference. His is an expression of fullness. Yours is an expression of incompleteness. Apparently dances, so that does not make you any follower. It just makes you the one who declares that I am incomplete. And therefore, of an ignorant, all his actions are only declarations of his incompleteness. And for the jnani, his interactions with the world is not out of incompleteness. They are an expression of his completeness. Vitaraga bhayakrodha sthitadihi muniruchyate. Such a sthitati, the one whose buddhi, whose intelligence now is stable, stationary, he is called as Muni. And therefore, you have seen it even before in this very text that this word Muni somehow has got not through words, but by meaning what it means is a sannyasi. Munirujyate. You have seen that. Now let us look at this commentary. Dukkham. Dukkeshu anudvigna manaha. He takes the word dukkham from that part. Dukkham ragadi nimitta janya rajoguna vikara rupa santapatmika pratikula chitta vritti. Basically, it is a cognition. That dukkham over here now is also a cognition. It is a cognition. Then how is this cognition? Ragadi nimitta janya. It is born from what? Because of some raga. Ragadi janya. Because of some raga, etc., it is born. And that is why wherever you have extra attachment, only that will become a cause of dukkha. So, dukkham ragadi nimitta janya rajo guna vikara rupa. It is a modification of rajo. Santapatmika. And how, by nature, how is this cognition? It is as though it will scorch, burning. It is like burning. Santapatmika, pratikula, and pratikula means non-conducive, not conducive. Pratikula chitta vritti. This is that kind of a thought pattern. Is called dukkham. Tadrishe dukkhe prapte sati. Having, if something like this happens, aham papaha dhimam duratmanam iti anutapatmika tamoguna vikaratvena bhranti rupa chitta vrittirudvegaha. But this chitta vritti, though there may be some dukkham, now he understands if you are going to see someone who is hungry and you know some person who is hungry, exploited, in a pitiable condition. Now this jnani, it is not that he will say, I'm Brahman. No, that will, it will generate some sort of, dukkha vritti. Because now dukkham is not an external situation. He has said dukkham is a cognition, chitta vritti only. So that is also going to take place inside. External situations are situations. We don't even call that as dukkham. It will be recognized as dukkham. Recognized means there should be a cognition. There should be a cognition. Tadrishe dukkhe prapte sati. When such kind of a thing happens and he sees somebody who is suffering, that there will be some dukkham. Tadrishe dukkhe prapte. Now look at this. This is very important because we are not doing anything that is hypothetical. This is what a Jivanmukta's internal state is. Tadrishe dukkhe prapte sati aham papaha dhimam duratmanam. He does not, there is no such cognition which follows dukkha. Generally, wherever there is dukkham to us, we start blaming the world and people. because of him I'm suffering, he may suffer also like me and all that. But there's somebody who is a Vaidika Shastriya person, what will he see? That yes, I am suffering, and apparently this fellow has become the cause of my suffering, but I am suffering because what is it that made him the cause of my suffering? My own karma only. He does not blame anyone. So he who has that Shastriya Viveka, Viveka which is born from the scriptures, he does not blame anyone. Then he says he takes the onus. If there is dukkham, then that dukkham has the cause in my own karma. And therefore I must have done something that was papa in my earlier life and that has come back. So how? Papi aham. Aham papaha means aham papi. Dhing mam, fie on me. Dhing mam, duratmanam. I was such a foolish person that I did some pap. Iti anutapatmika, so there is no such thing as regrets. Okay. He is completely alive to the situation, fully available to respond to the situation. What are you doing there? Huh. दुरात्मनाम इति अनुतापात्मिका तमोगुण विकारत्वेन भ्रांति रूपा चित्त वृत्तिर उद्वेगा. It does not create any udveg. There can be dukkham, but that dukkham does not create any udveg. There will be response because he is not in samadhi at this moment. He is seeing the world. And seeing the world means that he is sensitive. In fact, he will be far more sensitive than anybody of us. Cleaner the cloth, prominent becomes the stain. Isn't it? If the cloth is bright, clean, white, and if there is even a small spot, even a small little spot, then it is seen even more intensely. But if somebody is wearing clothes which are totally already stained and dirty, one more spot doesn't make any difference. So he who's antakkar, he who is so clean, he is far more sensitive. So he sees the world and understands in this transactional world, because now we are not talking about the one who is absorbed in samadhi. Kala bhedena sthita prashni we are asking, because how does he sit, how does he walk, how does he conduct himself in the world? This is the part of that question. In order to conduct with the world, he cannot be in samadhi. That's why he is conducting. And in order to conduct, which means the mind also has to be available, then how is his mind? He is going, that is what we are discussing. Sensitive, completely available, but it does not subject itself to the repercussion, udvega, dhingmam, regrets, blaming. No such ego games are there. No thing. Anutapatmika tamoguna vikarattvena bhranti rupa chit. and they are nothing more but just errors. These udvegas are bhranti rupaha, errors. यद्यपि अयं विवेकः इव आभाति तथापि पूर्वस्मिन् जन्मनि चेत् तत् पाप प्रवृत्ति प्रतिबन्धकत्वात् सप्रयोजनो भवति इदानीं तु निष्प्रयोजन इति भ्रान्तित्वं द्रष्टव्यम्. Now he says that why did you call it as bhranti? Now if he has got, what is another word for regret, you know? They say that they have that repentance. Oh, why did I do it? I should repentance. Not even repentance. Repentance is a kind of regret. It is nothing more than just what? Lamenting over spilled milk. And that's why he says that had he to have, it appears like Viveka. Oh, I did some pap in my previous janma, and that is why I am suffering. Hi, 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 hi. And that's why So now it seems that he is not blaming the world. There is certain Viveka in it. He takes the responsibility, but he has that kind of repentance, regret, self-blame. And he says, this is nothing more. This is not Viveka. This is an error. It appears like that person has got some Viveka. This is not Viveka. It is only an error. Anti Rupa. Why? Had it to have that Viveka that I should not do Papa, then that should have been it should have been there in his previous life, which would have prevented him from doing that Papa. Now that you are crying over it, in what way is it going to help you? And that's why it is nothing more than just lamenting over spilled milk. Error, bhranti rupaha, not much, we don't give it any much value to it. If it changes your ways, that's a good thing, but nothing more. भ्रांति रूपा चित्त वृत्ति उद्वेगः यद्यपि अयं विवेकः इव आभाति तथापि पूर्वस्मिन् जन्मनि चेत् तत् पाप प्रवृत्ति प्रतिबंधकत्वात् सप्रयोजनो भवति. It would have been useful in your previous life had that viveka, but now idanim tu nishprayojanah iva nishprayojanah iti, it is no purpose, it is purposeless thing. And so bhantitvam drashtavyam. So it has got that quality of an error in it. Sukham. Now he says, what is sukham? Okay. In situations of dukkha, in the condition, now this will be better to say, in the condition of dukkham, there is no udvega. It does not lead to any self-hate or any further complexes. Because every complex is ultimately resting on I. If you observe that every complex is resting on I. Whether it is superiority complex, inferiority complex, self-blame, self-hate, everything is resting on I. But what is the meaning of I for him? Satchidananda Brahma. And therefore, how can all these things rest on it? God. I is not an ego where all these things can rest. So where these complexes, the I does not become an harbor for all these complexes to come and sit. So therefore, it is resolved. If there is anything to be done, then there will be an action. Okay, if this fellow is suffering, he is hungry, give him food. If he is suffering without any medicine, let us try any medicine. Finished. And therefore, now Sukham, that was about situations of Dukkham. What happens in the situations of Sukham? Sukham, Rajaputra Labhadi Nimitta Janya, Satviki, Priti Rupanukula Chitta Vritti. There is another Chitta Vritti which is called as conditions of enjoyment of joy. What are, and it is a modification of sattva guna. So priti rupa anukula, it is conducive and it is wanted. Priti rupa. So three things. It is wanted, it is conducive, it is a modification of sattva guna. Okay. But what was the nimitta, what was the cause which generated this type of a sattva vritti inside? So what created that situation inside? So external stimuli, what was it? Rajyaputra labhadi nimitta janya. That somebody got some, Rajya means one over some kingdom. And in our situation, you find, oh, suddenly some relative died and left a big property in your name. So, even that thought also brings smile. So, Rajya Putra Labha, then son is born, or son in the sense a child is born, and then this fellow feels very happy. Oh, so Rajya Putra Labha, these such situations like this, they become the cause for the chitta vritti to trigger off. So what triggers this sattva vritti? Some situations like this externally. Now when there is this condition inside, there is this situation, condition of sukham inside, what happens to this fellow and what happens to us? So we got a spriha. Now he will tell. तस्मिन् सुखे सति आगामिनः तादृशस्य सुखस्य कारणं पुण्यम् अनुष्ठाय वृथा एव तदपेक्षा तामसी चित्तवृत्तिस्पृहा. There is no longing even while undergoing that experience. There is no longing. What is this longing and why is there no longing? Two things. Two. So in order to understand that part of the verse, we have two issues to see. What is longing and why there is no longing. Sukheshu vigatastraha. In conditions of happiness, there is no longing. May I have it again? Let me enjoy it for more time. Let me keep it, remember it for more, or one more, that this moment should live forever, and they make film songs. Just live forever. And film songs are there, so they show this honeymoon, and then this fellow is singing that this moment should be an eternal moment. This is called as what is it? What is this figure of speech? Oxymoron, contradiction, an oxymoron. right? He calls it a moment and wants it eternal. How can a moment be eternal? Moment means that which is not, and it is so small. It is so small that it is even difficult to detect which exactly is that moment. Before you said this moment, it has already gone. So you cannot find it. So he sings, let this moment remain forever. Okay, now this moment remains forever. And then the scene changes. Honeymoon is over and they are at home fighting divorce. Now that moment forever finishes in 1 hour of that film. They're divorced, they're finished, they're married again, gone, everything. What happened to that eternal moment? But there is spruha. There is spruha. Let it be eternal. Let it continue. Let it be repeated. Let it come again. Let it come again. This is called spruha. It is not that we are denying that there is experience of joy. Okay, this is nice, this is wonderful. But it does not lead into any longing, a demand that it should be extended, it should stay more, it should be repeated. Mhm. There is no such demand. And therefore, now we have to know what is longing and why there is no longing in whom? In this person of steady wisdom. This is it. We have to see this. Let us see that tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankaracharya Keshavam Badarayam Sutrabhashritam Vande Bhagavantam Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः।